Welcome back, my friends. Today we're going to organize the herbal books, and then I'm going to dive into this closet and take you with me on how I decide to organize all of these tinctures and herbs. Before Christmas, I started working on this space here next to the Harvest Kitchen. And I wanted to get all of my herb books up here so that they were easily accessible. And so I purchased a new bookshelf, and I'm busy hauling them from their old location to their new location and sorting them by different types and ways that I use them, which I wasn't able to do when I only had them in the other bookshelf because they were also with cookbooks and other things that weren't related to herbs. I'm sorting these by monograph books, by herbal formularies, by gardening books. I have a tea section. I have all sorts of books here that I reference all of the time. And they are super handy for anyone who plans on doing anything herbal at home for your family or your friends. This is a must-have resource. These books don't change like the internet. They're printed and they're going to stay that way. Some of these are recipe books with actual herbal recipes for tea or tinctures or even foods. And I'm busy here sorting them and moving them around so that they, one, fit in the shelf space, two, that some of the heavier ones are down at the bottom, and three, so that they also look nice with the space that I have. It looks like I have plenty of room to expand and find some more books. It's time to move on to this closet. I have been dreading cleaning this closet. You can tell it is a project, and indeed it was. But it was high time because I couldn't find a Band-Aid, let alone anything else in an emergency that was very useful. Even though I have all of these great and wonderful items in here, the disorganization caused me to be purchasing things I already had because I couldn't find them or didn't think I had them. And I couldn't access anything when I needed it. So first off, I'm going to start with the tinctures. I'm just pulling out tinctures from all over the place. I've got bath towels in here and sheets, and this is not at all what was intended when we first moved into this space 11 years ago. But if you haven't moved in a long time, you know how stuff accumulates. And if you've moved frequently, you realize how much stuff you get rid of every time that you move. There's actually a great benefit to that because when you stay in one spot a long time, you're not forced to go through all of these things. And it's easier just to shove them in here. So I'm showing you this chaos because I want you to know that not everything in life is perfect and we're all humans. And so I am definitely a mad collector of tinctures and herbs. As you can see here, there are plenty. There's lots of stuff here from during 2020 when we were all at home and we were more responsible for our medical care because everything was locked down. You can see here I have these lovely shelves. They were organized at some point and then they got full and I had to find a new place to put them. And hence here we have the new Apothecary Cabinet, which I found at Hobby Lobby, and I had the farmer take upstairs to the Harvest Kitchen for me. And this is where I'm going to put all of the tinctures. So that's the first order of business with this closet, to take all of the tinctures out and organize them here in their new home, because, you know, this is the fun part. So it's getting done first, and then I'm going to have to dig in to the hard work of finishing off that closet and putting everything else in order. So to add some more space, then here I got these spice racks that are adjustable, and so I'm going to take all the labeling off. And I'm going to place these in here so that I can get 3 or 4 levels of shelving in here because I have a whole lot of tinctures to put in here. Now you might be asking, what is a tincture? What is the purpose of a tincture? A tincture are herbs that are in alcohol, and the alcohol extracts the constituents, the active components of the herbs, into the alcohol, so that they can be used as a preservation method, and it also compounds the effect versus if you're taking an herb as a capsule or as a tea. Tinctures are much stronger, and they have a shelf life for 5 to 10 years or longer. I've never had one really go bad. So we are going to move those in here. You can see I can get 2 of these spice racks in here, and then I have this little end here that needs adjusted, and I've got 1 more to go before we start putting the tinctures in their new home. There we go. It's all ready to bring those up. It looks beautiful and it looks like a ton of space, but we will find out soon enough if they will all fit inside. There were so many tinctures in that closet, I had to have help getting them up the stairs. You can see here it's nighttime and it's a little dark. I need a little extra light there in the corner. But while we have all these tinctures here, the first order of business is going to be to sort them. Now, I had them sorted alphabetically before into these totes until it got out of hand and they didn't fit anymore. So we are going to go ahead and get these in order here and sort them before I try to put them away in the cabinet. So you're going to see here that these tinctures are obviously not standing up. And some of you who have tinctures may be going, that's a really bad idea because the seal and the rubber and the alcohol. And while I agree, this was the space that I had, and so this is the space that I used. And as we accumulated these, it became time to find a new way to get them stored. And so they will be stored right side up. I must say that in the several years I've had them laying on their sides, I've never had an issue with them leaking or the seal breaking or anything like that. So while it might logically make sense that this isn't the most ideal situation to lay them on their side, it has worked for us, and I haven't seen any erosion or anything in labels or in the rubber. And so we're going to sort these really quick, and then we're going to put them right side up in the cabinet. That would always be my ideal. Sometimes you just use what you have and you make do, and it turns out in the end. Now that I have these sorted, I have some pulled aside that were either empty, I threw some away, saved some of the bottles, depending on what their condition was and such. Now I'm going to put these in here alphabetically, and I'm thinking about how I want to do this. And we're going to start with A up in the top corner and just kind of work our way down into Z, and I'll probably have to resort these so that they have plenty of space in there. My favorite reason for loving tinctures is because they're very convenient. They're ready to use straight out of the bottle, though I recommend you put them in some water before you take them because alcohol can be rough on the throat. But I love these ones in the spray bottles, you'll probably see here in a bit, because they have a little bit of glycerin in them and you can spray them right inside your mouth and the alcohol is not quite as rough on the throat. So they're great for like tucking in your purse and taking with you, tucking in a bag. I always have something in the van or the car, something in my purse. I take them for travel. So they're great and convenient. Whereas if you're doing tea, you have to have water to steep it. You have to contain the leaves somehow. And so, every herbal preparation has its good and its bad. And these are just my favorite reasons for tinctures. Now that those are all tucked away in their new home, it's time to go back to that closet. And I must confess, this took me a few weeks to get back to this part because the other part was so fun, which is probably a good reason to really save that for last. But such as it is, here we are. I'm digging out herbs, dried herbs that are 11 years old. They're way past their prime. They were things that we tried and never used. There's bottles and bottles of herbal capsules, which I'm not a big fan of because one, when you put an herb in powder form, it erodes really quickly. And so it doesn't last very long. And you can see we didn't get to using them, or maybe I hadn't allergic reaction to one of them, or there was some additive to the product itself, which I didn't realize till later. So it's just time to go through these. Also, some neglect and not getting rid of expired things as soon as I should have. So this really probably should be at least a yearly project, and it's been neglected for several years. So I'm just sorting through, looking for expiration dates, see how old. There was some old product in here. You can see here some collagen that didn't work for us. We tried a couple different brands and we both had reactions to it. And so I'm not a super big fan of processed stuff like that anyway, but we couldn't find anyone that could use it. And unfortunately, I tucked it away in here because I didn't want to throw it away, and it's going to get thrown away anyway. So there's a saying going on around online that I don't get rid of leftovers. I put them in my refrigerator and then they mold, and then I give them to the chickens. And I'm afraid we have a lot of that going on around here. And maybe it's something you can relate to yourself. Let me know in the comments down below. Is that you, or are you super attentive to your products and just dealing with them right away? I think dumping these dried herbs was probably the hardest on me because they didn't get used and they have such great and wonderful purposes. And unfortunately, these are so old. I know there's a lot here. Many of you are going to say, look at all that waste. I understand and I agree. Over the years, I learned that some herbs are more fluffy than others. Some are more heavy. And so a 5-pound bag of nettle that I bought once lasted me forever. And it was huge, probably bigger than the size of a large pillow. And then you get, the same 5 pounds of something like dandelion root, and you have this tidy little bag. It's not a big deal. So some of these are stuff like that went on. And the good news about this is that I can compost these. Now, I'm not going to give them directly to animals because in this volume they are medicinal. And I don't want the animals to take on any ill effects from their medicinal purposes. Even though they're so old, there's probably not much left here. So I'm just going to compost these in our compost pile. And they will go back into the earth. And if there's any nutrients left, they will help build the soil. And so it's not a total loss, even though it definitely isn't my ideal scenario for all of these herbs. So how do you know that your herbs have gone bad? I mean, you can look at the expiration date and they do just fade over time. We like to leave an 18-month kind of best by date on the herbs that we sell. And so I kind of use that principle, but you can also use your senses. So how do the herbs look? Do they look green and fresh? Do they look old and dried and faded? Are they crumpled up into lots of powder? Are they whole? Do they smell fragrant? Do they smell like they did when you first got them? These are all wonderful ways to tell if your herbs are still good or if it's time to maybe add them to the compost. Now that I've dumped those dried herbs in the compost, I can't say that the herbal capsules and vitamins and supplements are going the same way. Unfortunately, all of those are going into the garbage because I don't want that capsule material in my garbage. And I also have all the packaging from those herbs. So the closet is cleaned. I didn't show you that whole process because it was really long and hours of just sorting and wiping down things. So here I have sorted all of the things back into these containers, not the tinctures that were in here, but instead I have things like Band-Aids and tape for bandages and gauze, small band-aids. I have some suture band-aids. There's some pastels. There's some salves and balms and all sorts of things in here. And now when I need something, all I have to do is go to the little drawer and pull it out, and there's a band-aid. So when someone's bleeding and they need some help right away, I can actually help them instead of where I had just a mess of a pile before. All the stuff I had in there was no good, but that problem has been resolved. So here you can see a close-up of all the labeling. I didn't purchase anything new for this cleanup here. I'm just reusing stuff in a different way. I always have some of these labels on hand, and so it was easy to take my pen and just stick them on the containers after I clean the containers up. I am placing a few tinctures here on their side. These are ones that we would use in an urgent situation, or that we would not want to go up the stairs to get, or maybe that we use more often. So I have herbs here for bleeding. The farmer was teasing me because it looks like it says bleeding heart. But yarrow is fabulous at putting on wounds to stop from bleeding. I have cayenne tincture, is a great one for emergency. If anyone has a heart attack, you can give them as you're calling 911. There's lots of tinctures here for pain. So we don't use things like Tylenol or ibuprofen. We use tinctures, and so that's what these are for. And then I have a few immune things here that, colds and flus happen and things, so I just keep a few down here that are for the first sign, as this tinctures is here, of those things. Also garlic and mullein oil for earaches and all sorts of things. So I'm just sorting those here because I have this container. We'll go through these quickly. They're not going to sit on their side that long, and I don't have to go up and down to the other cabinet that we just put together to find these, as we will need them very often or in an emergency. I have some activated charcoal capsules here. Those are great for if we have digestive issues, and so I'm going to make sure to keep those readily available. And now that is all clean and organized, it's time to move on to the non-medical apothecary supplies. We've got towels and sheets in these totes, and I'm going to go ahead and label them so that I know what's in them, and also hopefully, in theory, other family members know what to put in them, and the space can stay more organized and we can put it to better use than we have in the past. So again, I'm just using things that I have. I have some twine, which every gardener and farmer has, because it's the ultimate hack for about everything. I also have some index cards, and then I have more of these chalk marker labels. And so I just put the chalk marker label on the index card to give it some kind of backing, and I punched a hole through the corner, and I'm tying it on here with the twine. And so, it maybe isn't the fanciest label, but it gets the job done. It's stuff I had. I didn't have to spend any more money. It makes it easy on the budget, and it also gives it just this little finishing touch with the tiny little flair of design with the chalk label. Now that we have that all done, how about a before? And then, of course, an after. So now the before of the tinctures, just mess all over the place. Can't even get to those little drawers. And then the after. Thank you for joining me today, my friends. I hope that this has inspired you to tackle that closet, that hidden space, to go ahead and just make do with what you have and stay on your budget, and just see that reorganizing a space can help your mind be more clear. It's easier to think about other things. It's easier to find things, which will save even more on your budget. And with that, I will catch you in the next video.